What's up, fellow humans? How's it going? For those that don't know, I've been doing daily Instagram lives. I went live with Doug Evans 2 days ago. We talked about sprouting. Yesterday, I went live with InQ, my most recent podcast guest, to check in with how he's been dealing with coronavirus and trying to launch his book amidst all the insanity. And today, got another great guest for you, podcast favorite, the cro-mags man himself, John Joseph, is going to be joining me in just a second. Before we get to that, just want to say thank you for your attention and your time and for logging in, all of that. I appreciate you guys, and I've been having a lot of fun with these Instagram lives. They're sort of like doing mini podcasts spontaneously without all the pressure. We're just riffing and using this technology platform to engender a sense of connection and community. So thank you for joining me today, and I think you guys are in for a treat with John reporting live from New York City, so I'm going to dial him in right now. Here we go. Let's get him on board here in a second, and this is going to be good. I think it's going to be really good. So I hope everybody is safe. I hope you're staying at home if you have the luxury to do so. If you're compelled to be out in the world working, I applaud you for making sure that if you're a healthcare worker, you're keeping us safe, you're tending to the ill. Heroes, all of you guys, the grocery workers, all the people who are delivering our goods and services. It's huge that you guys are out there putting yourselves in harm's way so that everybody else can have what they need to take care of themselves. John should be logging in. I don't know. I invited him. What's up, John? How come you can't log in here? Are they going to not let you? What's happening? It says waiting for John Joseph cro-mag, so hopefully he'll be able to dial in here in a second. I do know that something happened with John's Instagram, and he was not able to do his own lives for some reason. He might have said something at some point that got him flagged. I'm not sure. I'm going to try it again here. Let's see. All right, here we go. Trying to add him. Hopefully this will work. Okay, John, if you're watching this, I just added you. You should be able to join here. If not, then maybe there's something with Instagram that's not allowing him to join my live, which would be interesting in its own right. John, if you're having trouble logging in, maybe type a comment that I can read down here. What's up, Josh LaJohnny? What's going on? So it seems we might have a technical issue here because John should be joining us right now. So I don't know what's going on. Bro, what's the problem? All right, well, while we're waiting for him to sort out whether he can join us, as you guys can see, I've got a sequestration beard going on week 3 here. I'm kind of digging it. One thing that I want to know from you guys, I've never grown like a full-blown beard, and it's kind of like a chia pet. It's starting to grow out like this. How do all you cool millennials and Gen Zers get it to like go down and look dope? That's what I don't know. I guess you need beard oil or something. I don't know how you do this. Anyway, John, man, what's the problem here, bro? I'm gonna try to add you again. Try it again, John. Oh, there he is.
Shit. Here we go.
I thought Instagram might have banned you or something.
Yo, they did, man. I'm not
Tell me
allowed.
what happened.
Well, I posted videos of, basically I just posted a video live, and I was like, look, pills and medication, I understand what's going on, but, the way to, defeat anything is to strengthen your immune system, whatever, What I usually say, no, like anti-Big Pharma, nothing. And they were like, the next time I tried to go on, they just were like, you can't post any live videos till April 14th.
Wow. How dare you tell people to strengthen their immune system?
Yeah, I know. Well,
It's the man. The man's trying to keep you down. This is the story of your life.
I mean, I get it too. There's so many fucking wackadoos posting shit now about everything. So, you know, it's kind of like comical, the amount of conspiracy theories that are out there about this, you know, whole thing.
Yeah.
But
well, it's tricky.
you know,
It's tricky.
I'm,
You know, there's a lot of crazy misinformation and a lot of conspiracy theories getting spun, you know, like these yarns that are out, you know, spreading across the internet. And I would suspect that platforms like Instagram have algorithms up to try to flag that stuff, and perhaps the net is being cast a little bit wide and you got caught in that. But you know, it's a strange moment. You know, I think it's a moment in which we're all, you know, trying to figure out how to navigate together, and there's a huge fear response at the same time that's, you know, catalyzing a lot of strange behavior out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of like people that just should just shut up instead of like posting the stuff that they're posting right now. And listen, I have my, you know how deep the rabbit hole goes with me. I have my theories and their speculations, obviously, because nobody can prove anything. But is that gonna help people at this point? I'm just trying to, you know, do what I do, be funny and post videos and kick it with the homies and the homiettes and answer a lot of people that hit me up. You know, that's some New York shit right there. Can't forget the ladies, man. But you know, it's just bugged out right now in New York, man. The streets are like, businesses are boarded up. The shit reminds me of like, you know, 78, 79, 80. Like, you walk in Soho and there's like boards on the windows, and it's pretty fucking eerie, man. You know?
Yeah. So give me a sense. Like you're still. I know you went on a bike ride the other day. Are you still getting out to run? And you got to get your food and all that. So what is it like when you're out on the street and there's no cars and everyone's keeping their distance? Like what? I mean, New York being, you know, the epicenter, like the vortex of you know, a community that's endured a lot. Like the only sort of comparison would be 9/11, and yet this is very different.
And that doesn't even compare to what's happening right now. Because in 9/11, when that tragedy hit, everybody was allowed to come together, and you know, the yoga centers were full, the temples were full, the mosques were full, the churches were, people came together as a community. You know, I remember I sat in Union Square Park over here and chanted with the Hare Krishna devotees, and for like 2 hours. Like a few days after that, it was a different vibe. Now it's like, stay the fuck away. You know, everyone's like keeping away from each other. And, you know, like I said, I'm not watching. There's people just watching the news constantly, like, and it's just this negative feed. You know, hundreds and thousands of people have healed themselves and gotten better from COVID, but they're not posting those stories. It's just this constant, you know, feed of negativity. And I have to say something right now too, because like, you know, Joe Rogan is my boy. I love the motherfucker. He's cool. But he posted the other day like a great analogy about how everyone's, whether you like Trump, I didn't vote for him, whatever. I think he's a douche in a lot of respects. But like, if I'm in a car and there's all people in the car and I hate the driver of that car that needs to get us down the highway, am I going to punch that driver in the face and want the car to crash? Like, it's ridiculous. I mean, I realize he's dropped the ball on a lot of shit. He came on the news saying, oh, it's a hoax. It's fucking, you know, it's fake news, this and that and all that. But the point is, we are where we are now, and we have to work together and, you know, try to, you know, get people the help they need. I'm seeing the homeless are just, I've never seen it like this, man. And I mean, I was homeless myself.
Have
like
you been up to Central Park where they've got all the tents set up? Have you seen the big,
I haven't
you know,
gone.
Needle Murphy ship?
I haven't gone up there yet because the weather's been a little messed up, and I try to ride out of the city when I go. I haven't been for a run up there either, but you know, I'm passing by hospitals, and you know, I mean, I gotta tell you though, and I'm just saying this is from my perspective. I'm not saying anything about it. I'm just gonna tell you. Last Friday, when I ride out to the beach, I go over the 59th Street Bridge. I pass Beth Israel on the left on 18th. I pass Bellevue on the right. They have those triage tents too. I pass NYU Medical Center. And I pass a hospital in Queens. And then when I make the loop in Rockaway and come back over the Marine Parkway Bridge, I passed a hospital in Brooklyn. I didn't see ambulances pulling in. I was like, I expected it to be flooded with people wearing masks and like a beehive of activity and ambulances pulling up. And I don't know, I'm just saying it's me. I'm not saying anything's up, but I'm not seeing ambulances flying down First Avenue or anything of that nature at all. And the hospital, I went up and like put my bike there and opened up the door and looked inside, and it was like, I was like to the ambulance dude, yo, where's all the COVID people? And he just went like that and walked away. So I don't know, maybe the beds are all full. They're not bringing people there. That's what I saw, and I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that's what I saw with my own eyes. Not heard somebody tweet it, some moron, conspiracy theorist. People ask me what's up with the hospitals, and that's what I saw, you know? So I'm not hearing like ambulances flying all over the place and what I did when 9/11 hit.
Yeah, but in fairness, like if somebody has COVID, they're probably not taking an ambulance to the hospital. You know, they're seeing symptoms and they're, you know, taking a cab or they're walking there or getting there.
But I'm just telling you, I didn't see jam-packed. The waiting rooms were of the emergency room and everything. Nobody in there.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying whatever. I'm just telling you what I saw. So you take, you know.
Right, I got you.
I'm not saying like, yo,
left a comment.
Yeah, I'm just saying like,
yeah, somebody just left.
That's what I saw.
Right. We don't know. Right, I got you.
Yeah.
So why don't we, you know, tell me what Erica went up to Massachusetts a while ago, right? So you're by yourself in your apartment with the dog, or she took the dog?
Well, she took Storm with her, which is cool because you know her mother was supposed to move, and then when it got crazy, they stopped her from moving. So she's just staying up there. I think she's coming back on the 17th, but you know, I have my daily routine, my sadhana every day. You know, I get up early. First thing I do is say my mantras. I start, you know, I say, you know, I do a little chanting. I read a little philosophy, then I write. I'm putting a lot of work in on the script for the first book, you know, the evolution of a Cro-Magnon, and I'm adapting it. So working on that. I try to get outside and, you know, get some exercise in. I did the Murph challenge the other day on Thursday. You know, so I just try to keep busy. And there you go, man. I try to stay consistent, and especially, you know, resiliency is a big quality right now that I think people need, because, you know, I was talking to you about this the other day. When we get so obsessed on one thing and that's all we got, and then that thing is taken away. Like I see these Ironman people, like, you know, they're swimming on tape, you know, like just doing crazy shit. Like you know, I feel like if, you know, I've always been having, you know, life just throws shit at me constantly. So I would say the quality that I've been able to develop because of that is resiliency, you know, which means like you have to adapt and change and do all that stuff. And I'll tell you one thing, anybody who said they don't have time to do their projects, you know, I'm friends with Remco Pardo, and he's like one of the first UFC fighters. He's cool, man. He's from the Netherlands, and he's like the real deal, you know. And he was like, if you don't get what you have to get done now, it's not a lack of time, it's a lack of discipline. You lack discipline.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like now we have all this extra time, and you know, the excuse of like, well, I'd do that if I had more time, but you don't understand my life is now kind of out the window. And this is the litmus test for whether or not, you know, you really want to chase that thing that you kind of talk about too.
Yeah.
And listen, you know, I say that as somebody who has a tremendous amount of privilege. You know, I talked to InQ, I had InQ on the on this live yesterday, and he was like, it's a privilege to quarantine, you know, and that's true. You know, I have it better off than almost anybody. And I can still, you know, pursue the things that I'm interested in. I can still do the podcast and communicate with people, and I have my family here, and we have space, and you know, so far be it from me to pass judgment on how you know other people are having to navigate this, especially those that have been furloughed or lost their jobs or had their businesses shuttered. I mean, these are super real problems that are distinct and separate from the illness itself, but obviously, you know,
well, you know,
directly to
yesterday I was reflecting on that because it was a cold rain yesterday, and the thing with the shelters is if like a couple people got it, they had to close the shelter down. That the food programs have been decimated. Like now, if you don't have prepackaged food, they're not letting you serve the homeless, right? So the meal programs, the way we were doing it before, ixnay. But yesterday, as bad as, it's not even bad for me. I got a warm house, I got internet, I got social media, I could work out, I got my bikes. I was walking around yesterday and seeing homeless brothers and sisters out there in New York, and I'm like, you know, and the thing is, New York's such a bustling place that, you know, they could ask people for money on the street. There's nobody on the street for them to ask money from. And the other day, this has happened a few times. Like this brother was destitute, man. You could see the desperation in his face. And he was standing outside, and I was going to go in the health food store, and he goes, yo, man, if you could spare anything. And I'm like, what do you want it for? He's like, food, man. I haven't eaten in 2 days. I said, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to get you an organic pasta salad. He's like, yo, and I brought out salad and some bananas and some other, you know, nuts and stuff. And I gave it to him. He goes, I'm going to sit right there and eat it, man. And I was like, brother, go. You know, he's like, I live under the construction scaffolding by the convenience store. I said, yeah, I've seen you, man. But, you know, we really have to look out for those people. Monday, I'm going to go out and feed the homeless here in the city with Adi if he does the program over there. And just like my walking tours were canceled, all of that, and people have been donating the money to the food program. And last month, all the digital sales that I had, in a couple of weeks, they'll be tallied, but it's over $500 from that. And I'm donating it all to Adi because the food program now is costing more money for him, you know? Like he can't make big pots of stuff and go out and serve it to people. The health department shut him down from doing that. So the thing is like there's a lot of people out there that are really going through it right now. And I try to have, you know what I said in the PMA effect, you know, gratitude is attitude, man. You have to like appreciate, you know, what you have. I was like, wow, man, I turned on my shower and hot water came out, you know, like during the blackout, I had to take cold showers. It's always something, you know, like, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna inevitably exacerbate the social and economic divide, because there's certain people that are going to be able to weather this just fine, ensconced in the comfort of their homes, like myself. And, you know, for the people of lesser means, particularly outside of urban centers and throughout, you know, the Southeast, you can't, I mean, you know, there is less access to healthy foods, and people are going to have to get in their cars and drive around. And, you know, it remains to be seen, like the valence, like the ultimate toll of all of this. I don't think any of us can estimate at this point. We don't know how long this is going to go on, but, you know, certainly it's unprecedented and unlike anything any of us have ever experienced in our lives. And, you know, now is the time for compassion and bridge building. You know, we can spin conspiracy yarns about where this came from and the kind of macro economic and social systems that lead to, you know, this kind of situation, and a broken political infrastructure that's exacerbating it by failing to respond in a timely and effective manner. But I think ultimately none of that is of comfort to those that are suffering right now. What we need are solutions, and what we need is community and cohesiveness as a society. My biggest fear is that this, you know, we're already seeing this incredible split. It's like we live in two countries. You know, there's two sensibilities that are being informed in their respective silos, and those silos are drifting further and further apart. And Absolutely. This is the kind of crisis that could drive us even further apart and lead us into, you know, a critical situation where we become ultimately unable to even communicate. And this is something Jonathan Haidt talks about. He said that 9/11 was the last shared communal experience that America will ever have, and that ultimately whatever comes next is going to be viewed through the lens of whatever information silo, you know, or confirmation bias that we have, and that we're experiencing two different realities. And you know, I don't know. I think that there's certainly truth to that in terms of how people are perceiving what's going on. But as the reality, the gravity of this, you know, begins to like rest upon all of us, the real truth becomes inescapable, because nobody is immune from having to deal with this on some level. And so I still hold out hope that this has the opportunity to bring us together, to, you know, give us pause and perspective. I mean, one thing that InQ said yesterday, it was like the planet, or, you know, God, or whatever, you know, universal force you want to call it, has put us in timeout. It's like humanity, you go in the corner and you sit over there and you think about what you did, and we're reaping the consequences of, you know, our way of life that has created such havoc planetarily. And now we're being forced to kind of look at that and take stock of the actions that we've taken as a global society and culture that has led to not just the virus, but the vulnerabilities that we all have in terms of global supply chain and our inability to respond, you know, timely and effectively to treat people, and the kind of long-term environmental impact of, you know, our actions that create scenarios where this becomes more and more likely, you know. And you know, I'm sure you've seen these articles about the planet, you know, already, you know, restoring balance with us just stopping for a couple weeks, and skies are clearing, and you know, there's all these kind of positive, beneficial environmental results as a result of us just hitting the pause button for 5 minutes.
Yeah, like the canals in Italy, and you know, that's why, like today, I posted, you know, something, and
rivers are clearing up, like all kinds of stuff.
Well, my friend was like, you know, people are like, oh yeah, I can't wait till we get back to normal. And I'm like, yo, that normal has gotten us to where we're at now on the planet. That normal is fucking insanity. that look what we were doing to this planet. Like, it's just, you know, it's out of control. And the lack of compassion for all sentient beings on this planet, be it animals, people, it really started to become like, and even amongst people, this dog eat dog mentality was really becoming prevalent. You know, this hankering for fame, adoration, distinction, like, just it causes a lot of you know, according to the Vedas, and I've seen it in my own personal life, it just causes a lot of not very good qualities to manifest within human beings when we don't work together in harmony to make positive you know, change in the world. That's, you know, you know, there's a Brahminical standard, and it was that you leave a place better than how you found it. And, you know, that's my work that I'm trying to do, is leave people better and leave the planet better. And I mean, you know, it's there is, you know, the problem too is economically speaking, there are a lot of people in this country that live paycheck to paycheck and don't have luxuries that myself and you and other people may have, you know, to do all this stuff. I get to go do Ironmans and go on tour and do whatever. And, you know, these people, it's like, they just live to survive and pay the bills, and now that's done. And you know, the government is giving them $1,000 check. Like, that's almost a joke, because the corporations and the banks are going to get billions and billions of dollars. Like, people that don't need it, they're already hoarding money, and it's not going to get to the people that really need the money and are getting hurt by this thing very, very badly. The repercussions.
$1,200, the $1,200 payment. I mean, you know, when we're looking at months and months of being locked down, and, you know, landlords being unforgiving about rent payments, and, you know, food bills stocking up, and just the barest of essentials, it's just not gonna solve the problem.
Imagine if you got two kids.
Fact that if you don't have a bank account that's registered, you know, properly with the federal government, there's all these criteria, then it could take up to 4 months to get the money. And what's strange is that, you know, it's 2020. You know, people have the Cash App and Venmo and all these digital tools for sending and receiving money. It seems like there should be a more fluid and effective way to get people the money they need, you know, immediately. And, you know, this is the cogs of bureaucracy, you know, churning, you know, trying to deal with a problem in a 2005 sensibility.
Absolutely. I mean,
and meanwhile, you're correct. You know, there's going to be all kinds of economic stimulus packages that are going to benefit, you know, the macroeconomic landscape, with bailouts for large companies and the airlines and all of that. But,
Obama did it with the banks, like the same thing. He bailed out the banks. Everybody still got fired. The money was, so much money was unaccounted for. It's, you know, it's just, I mean, I've always said it. I grew up in punk rock. My whole thing was question authority, get to the bottom of shit, go down the rabbit hole, do the research, see what's happening. And there's a lot of really fucked up shit piggybacking off of this crisis, like Naomi Klein's book, The Shock Doctrine, using a crisis to do dirty work. And there's a lot of that that's going on right now too. And it's just, you know, I'm sorry, I've never trusted the government, never will. You know, I mean, I've just seen so much crazy shit go down, man. It's like, and it really is, I'm sorry, but I see it as it really is becoming, they're becoming like this oligarch, like this they're meshing like corporations in with the government, and like there's just so many moves being made right now. It's driving a wedge between the people that of the country and the government. And the real deal is it's supposed to be a government for the people, by the people. This, you know.
Yeah, there's certainly an opportunity for a gigantic power grab right now, and an erosion of personal liberties and privacy rights as well. Because when people are afraid, they're more malleable and easier to control.
Exactly.
So, you know,
Naomi Klein's, yeah, her book is amazing because, you know, that's what's happening, man. You know, and like I just try to, you know, stay positive through the whole thing. Like, to me, I said that to somebody the other day, man. My teacher, Prabhupada, said simple living and high thinking. Like, you know, the cro-mags had the lyrics to the song Life of My Own. You come into this world with nothing except yourself. You leave with nothing except yourself. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I think it's really showing people we were becoming such a materialistic society. And, you know, that verse, the Bengali verse, Dushpalena Helena Cha, it means lust burns like fire, it's never satisfied. That's not sexual lust. That means constantly mad to get this, that, and then you get that, and that's not good. And then, you know, you got to go for the next thing. And it's like, this is really making people sit back and take inventory and say, all right, what's important in life? What is important in life? You know, and I told somebody that the other day. I say, I lived as a monk with nothing, man. And you could take all the shit in my apartment, and, you know, if I'm still alive and breathing and blood is pumping in my heart and veins, and I got oxygen and I'm alive, I'm a bounce back. Like, you know,
yeah, that's
just, we have to really take a look at what we're putting so much value into, you know. And I love George, yeah, I mean, George Carlin too said it perfectly, right? They want you just healthy enough to run the machines. Like, I love George Carlin. Was like, holy shit.
Well, I think that you know, that there is a lot of fear out there right now, and a lot of uncertainty and a lot of anxiety, and I think that's a normal human reaction. I don't think anybody should feel bad about being scared right now, because it is a scary moment. But amidst it all, if you find yourself healthy and a couple extra free moments in your day, it is imperative, I think, in this moment to seek inward and to really do a solid inventory of how you're living your life on an individual basis, to figure out what's working, what's not. Because I do think that right now we can create a foundation for a new and better and more sustainable trajectory for ourselves. And we you know, like, this extra time where we're all being compelled to stop is really a gift that we don't get in our normal fast-paced lives, where now we have to stop. And so how are we going to use that time? You know, look, we can, like, go on Netflix and watch Tiger King, which I did. You know, I'm not any better than anybody else. Like,
Narco Mexico too.
Yeah. So, but I think it's important to carve out that extra time for solitude, to do that inside work, and to really, you know, evaluate what's working and what's not. Because at some point, this will lift. And, you know, I don't think that we're going to go back to normal. My hope is that we'll find a new normal, and that we can, you know, basically then rely on the work that we do now to set in motion something better for ourselves and for everybody. You know, I think we're going through a collective destruction of the ego. All of our ambitions and our ideas about how we should be spending our time and what we need to be doing out in the world, and you know, whatever upwardly mobile ladder you're trying to climb right now, like, all of that's fucked. So it doesn't mean anything, and we're forced to really look at ourselves and say, well, what is really important, you know, to your point.
You ever heard that saying, man proposes, God disposes?
Yeah.
Like,
or you know, if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans.
Tell him your plans.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, the thing is I think it's coming together, you know, uniting people under a positive mindset is the most important thing. Like for me right now, like I don't know how many people I've fucking blocked off. I block motherfuckers anyway off this shit, but in the last, since this is going down and just coming on and posting negative shit and sending me some crazy ass videos and this wackadoo, that wackadoo, like pointing the fingers. Oh, it's this person's fault. It's this. None of that is gonna change anything, because the bottom line is we, us individuals, have to change. And I'm trying to kind of stay around the positive people, and you know, that are trying to do positive things right now, as opposed to, like, you know, going off on some tangent with, you know, the Q people and the X20. Like, it's just fucking unbelievable. What I mean, it's kind of.
But I will say, it is occasionally entertaining though, when I'll you know, like when you go after somebody in the comments of some post.
Oh yeah. Well,
there's
an
entertainment value to that, John.
Oh yeah, they get the smackdown quick, but there's a lot of ones that get sent to me in private messages, like people just sending me shit, and I'm like, come on, man, what the fuck? Like, is that gonna help? Somebody just sent me that today. I was like, yo, I don't trust, you know, what was Frank Zappa, right? What did he say? You know, it's the slime oozing out of your teeth. I'm gross and perverted. I'm obsessed and deranged. I've existed years with very little has changed. Whatever. And then he's like, have you guessed me yet? I'm the slime oozing out from your TV set. I don't believe very little of that shit that's coming out of that TV set when it comes to, like, the news and all the other shit. I mean, because it's like, it's all scripted. They're handed a script. Here's what you have to do. But, you know, I don't, I'm not going to sit there, and that's not my focus on day to day. You know, I've been blessed to have a whole lot more time. Even, you know, right before this happened, I was like a month and something out from Ironman St. George. So I was like, you know, starting to hit the 2-mile swims and, you know, the 80-mile rides and the fucking 15-mile runs. So all of that is put on hiatus. You know, and I'm still keeping fit and doing what I got to do, but it's opened up those 5-6 hours I was utilizing to get ready for this race. I'm putting that towards my projects, man. You know, like the writing and the other stuff that you have to utilize that time, man, you know, like in a positive way. And you know, I'm just hoping that after this, there's like, people wrote great scripts and great books and great music, and, like, you know, I'm hoping like some really dope art comes out of people being locked. I was locked up, you know Johnny Mac, right? Johnny McAvoy. He did 10 years in a prison cell.
Yeah, I mean, he's been posting some amazing stuff right now.
He's like, love him. I fucking love him.
Because he's like, look, man, I was, you know, in solitary confinement for however many years.
Yeah.
This is nothing. You know, like I'm just back to what I was doing before. And he's posting, you know, videos of him rowing on his, you know, cycling, indoor cycling thing.
Even Ice-T was like, all y'all motherfuckers talk about, all y'all motherfuckers think you're gangster, talk about being, you know, I'm not afraid to be locked up. Y'all's in your house and you're losing your shit. Yeah. But, you know,
I mean, one thing I do want to say, though, for all the athletes out there, you know, there's a lot of people who are upset and disappointed because their Ironman or their marathon or whatever race got canceled. You know, I would encourage you, to think more broadly. than your race. Like the race is not important. It's the transformation that occurs as a result of preparing for the race. It's the journey towards the race. The race is nothing. And, that doesn't mean you're not allowed to be disappointed. Like I get that. But I think there's an instinct with a lot of athletes, particularly endurance athletes, who now, if they're permitted the opportunity to go outside, are going to want to like train super hard. Like, oh, I got all this time, so I'm just going to do some crazy challenge and like run insane, really ramp up my mileage and hit it really hard. And I think that that's a critical mistake. I think it's important to stay fit and find ways to be active, whatever your circumstances are. If you're stuck in an apartment, like, to do body exercises at home or what have you, but to also be wary of overdoing it. Like right now, we need everybody's immune system to be functioning optimally. And if you're pushing yourself too hard, there's no question that you are denigrating your immune system's ability to respond to anything that it gets hit with. And now is not the time to compromise that. So for people who are engaging in crazy fitness challenges at the moment, I would really encourage people to rethink that.
We talked about that. The other night. Like, like there's no question that your immune system takes a fucking kick in the ass, training and doing these, endurance events. It's like, and I think. Back it off a little bit and, you do just enough to stay healthy, get some oxygen, get your mindset, the proper mindset, even like Goggins, he's out there running 6 miles, 7 miles. He's not like,
Well, yeah, he's also the first person to say, don't do what I'm doing.
Exactly.
Don't delude this guy's been doing that forever. Like his aptitude, like his, what's hard for him and what's hard for the average people is a very different picture. So
absolutely,
it's not to say like go out and like we want everybody to be fit and strong and stay active, and it's okay to push yourself. Just be wary of where that line is and don't go over it. Like we don't need people exhausted right now. That's not
absolutely.
It's just not wise.
Me, I'm just like. I'm doing like and I'm only doing like 40-mile rides now, like maybe run real easy 5 miles. I did a Murph challenge on Thursday. I'm stretching out in the apartment. I got, my rebounder over here, yoga, this, that. So, I'm just taking it easy. I'm not trying to like get run down, because, New York City's a fucking petri dish to begin with. And, this thing is everywhere in the city. This is ground zero for the whole shit on the planet right now. So
right. No, it's where it's all happening at the moment.
I'm trying to be, careful and aware and not be, complacent about what I'm even when I go out, I'm wearing gloves and putting my shirt up, whatever the fuck, like staying away from people. I think
with the other thing I wanted to say is that I think that with this sequestration and this extraordinary amount of time that we're now forced to spend with ourselves, there's a discomfort that comes with that. Like we're not used to that. And that's why suddenly we'll be like, well, what's on Netflix? Or let me call John and we'll do an Instagram live because like I can't stand to be alone with myself for 5 minutes. Like whatever it is, like I'm pleading guilty to this as much as anybody else. But when you feel that like sense of ill at ease with just solitude, I think that's a window of opportunity to ask yourself, like, why is that so uncomfortable? And this came up within Q the other day as well. Like, I can't remember what brilliant mind said this, but I think it was one of the Stoic philosophers said that all of mankind's suffering is related to his inability to spend time with himself alone. And now here we are finding ourselves in these sequestration states. And I think it's an opportunity to figure out how to be alone with yourself in a productive way and to be more consciously aware when you're trying to get out of yourself and distract yourself through some form of entertainment or even exercise or fitness. I think the more self-awareness you can develop around that through journaling or, you know, your morning meditation or what have you is going to lead to, you know, epiphanies about what makes you tick, and hopefully then allow you to deconstruct some of the kind of whatever traumas you have or psychological, you know, thought looping behavior patterns that you know, perpetrate and keep showing up in your life, to give you a more strengthened and empowered ability to look at that and perhaps ultimately overcome those. You know, we all want to be able to be comfortable in our own skin, to be alone with ourselves, to sit with ourselves, to enjoy that solitude and recognize the blessings that it offers all of us, and to then find, you know, some sliver of like gratitude in this experience.
I mean, I think absolutely, like what most of us fear is being alone with ourselves. You know, to reference Goggins again, the accountability mirror, you know, all right, here I am. There's no outside distractions. I mean, I've had, even though I go and play in front of thousands of people, whatever the fuck, on tour, pretty much in my life, throughout my whole life as a child, everything, I was alone. I was alone on the streets. I was alone, locked up. You know, so it's all been a preparation, you know, to, I think, personally, it's like, I feel I've been, you know, kind of already prepared for. I don't fear being alone, and when I wrote Evolution of a Cro-mag, I spent 5 years alone, no relationship, locked myself off away. You know, pretty much just wrote that book and had to like dig deep and put, like I said, I always came to that part where the really fucked up shit happened, and I would stop and fall apart for an hour sobbing and then just stop writing. And that was my whole turning the lens inside and looking to see, you know, this dark side that exists. And that's what really I'm focusing on, you know, that I'm writing this film, and here I am. It's a lonely journey that this character, you know, my character based on me, whatever, in the book, has had to deal with. And it's so crazy because I was trying to figure out how to end the book and 9/11 hit. And right before 9/11 hit, I had to do an intervention on my brother. All this shit happened with my mother. I called her out on abandoning us and found out I was conceived out of a rape, and like from my father, that she left. And like, I was like living the fucking ending. And it's so crazy that now I'm writing this script, and it is about being alone, and being alone with your demons. And I'm like, still, I'm in no way, shape, or form cured of everything. I'm still a work in progress. So to be sitting here alone, but not feeling alone, you know what I'm saying? It's like, in a large degree, I don't get loneliness, you know? It's like I channel enough stuff to never have that feeling of loneliness, you know? Even when I was a monk for 2 years, it was like I had nothing. And I always say I felt more whole than I did having so much shit and going on tour and playing festivals for 20,000 people and all of the bullshit that goes with it. Nothing made me feel more whole than when I was living as a monk and waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning and like just doing service nonstop, you know. So I
And
think
now we all have to adopt, you know, monk-like behaviors.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah,
the challenge and the opportunity.
It's good. This is a good, not just the challenge, but it's really good training, man. Everybody talks about training, you know, and all of this stuff. And it's like the mental training, you know it. You're much more of an accomplished athlete than I am. I mean, you know what it takes mentally to do the Epic 5 or the stuff, all the stuff that you've done. It's like it takes mental, you know, mental toughness. You know, that's what that.
And here's your opportunity to work on that. Like we're so, you know, the endurance athlete, the triathlete is so worried about, you know, the watts and the training peaks and the sessions and all of that. And, you know, short of that, now you have an opportunity to train to really, you know, focus on developing your mindset and your mental discipline. And ultimately that's the game changer and the distinguishing factor between, you know, the champion and the also ran, because there's only so much that you can train, and there's only, you know, you can get to a certain level of fitness, but the difference between the best and the person that's, you know, at that tier just below the best is almost invariably mental.
And how much is the best compared to the other people? How much are they each enjoying it? You know, enjoying the journey and enjoying the race. I mean, I've done a bunch of those races, and it's like I see people so caught up in shit that it's like, are you even fucking having fun? Like, I do this shit to have fun. Like, shit always goes batshit crazy and something happens.
Every race that you've done goes haywire.
Yeah, no, but you know what? Cozumel was okay this time, you know, when I did it. I didn't have any issues. Somebody died on the swim, but
I heard about that.
Yeah. And he just goes to show he was a fit, like, Kona qualifying Brazilian athlete and had a heart attack.
Yeah.
You know, so it just goes to show. I see that too. A lot of those Ironman people think, oh, I do Ironman, I can eat whatever the fuck I want. That's a ticking time bomb. But the whole point that I'm making with it, though, is enjoy the journey, man. You have to enjoy the journey. And, like, that's why I ride with my boy Sean Fowler, and I'll only run with certain people. And I enjoy doing shit solo just because, like, that whole competitive, like, you know, I do this too. And it's not my whole life. I do it because I enjoy it. It's just like when I started cycling and going up to the park, and Nelson Vales and all those guys were going up there and racing the crit at night, which is 4 laps in the park, and I was doing it. And then not Nelson, but a lot of those other guys, they got into, you know, taking performance enhancing drugs and like all this shit. And I see them now, 37 years, 38 years later, they're like, I ain't been on my bike in 10 years. I don't even look at it. See, I never want to be that person. I don't want to get to the point where I'm just doing the shit to beat everybody else, and I'm not enjoying the process and enjoying the company of other people. Like, the community of sports is amazing, you know? Yeah. But
all right, man. Well, listen, we got, like, I want to round this down at an hour, and we're almost at an hour. And I think the thing I want to kind of zone in on here before we sign off is daily habits, especially people's routines around food. I think there's this, you know, it's an easy slide into letting your diet and your nutrition slip, like, especially when we're sitting on the couch and the Netflix is on, and, you know,
walk past the fridge.
It's easy to grab the bag of chips and, you know, go down the rabbit hole. And this is not the time for that. This is the time to be a warrior with your nutrition.
Absolutely.
And to really focus on it. To the extent that you can, be sensitive to the fact that, access to healthy food is more challenging now, especially with people's, incomes being cut. Far be it from me to tell people they have to go out and buy organic when, they're looking at their bank balance and they've been laid off. So, that, with that being said, to the extent that you can, empower your bodies with the healthiest food available to you, there's ways of, listen, if you're just buying, bulk bags of rice and potatoes, you can keep it super cheap and also, be eating a whole food plant-based diet to the extent that you're, fully capable of doing. But let's get those immune systems in check and not slack off on that. If there's one thing you need to be on top of right now, it's like trying to be active every day, trying to remain mentally, emotionally, and spiritually engaged through whatever daily practices, you've adopted to keep yourself sane, to have your nutrition in check, to stay engaged with your friends and your family. Like, all of these things are super important. Getting sleep, of course, getting the appropriate amount of rest. We need everybody to be as healthy as possible to weather this thing. And, it's just not the time to slack off because, we're not allowed to go to our offices or, really move as much outside as we'd like to.
Well, I agree 100%. And, some of the main causes of disease are uncleanliness, over anxiety, and overeating, and like it says that of all the senses, the tongue is the most difficult and voracious to control. So if you're not engaging the mind properly and getting, like what you're saying, community and a sense of community and having other projects, every time I'm walking by the fridge, I'm like, all right,
right.
What's in there?
I know.
I posted a funny meme the other day, and it was I forget the rock and roll singer's name, but it was like day 1 of quarantine, and he's all shredded, and day 30, what is his picture now, and he's like, 50 pounds overweight. But I try to, and that's why, I try to be very regulated. I'm already doing like the intermittent fasting. So if I eat at 6 o'clock at night, I'm not eating again till 10 o'clock the next morning. My meals are very controlled portion wise. And as a matter of fact, that's, I've been doing every Sunday, like this community dinner thing. So I tell people on my page, you could go on my page and look, I already posted 2 dinners the 2 previous Sundays, and then tomorrow is going to be a veggie stew. And,
nice.
Yeah, so like you can cook and have a, because I said it for this reason. We're so caught up in everything, and the whole family time dinner thing is becoming a thing of, it was becoming obsolete. Like people sitting down and having a meal together, like even when you go out to eat, their cell phone, sense of having a family dinner time is important. And that's why I've been doing it every Sunday. So I just posted today the ingredients for tomorrow. It's simple. It's cheap. Somebody said to me last night, because I posted, I had a bed of greens and tempeh and split pea soup. And they're like, yeah, how much was all that shit? And I'm like, $4.25, you fucking Mama Luke. Now what?
Yeah.
And I broke it down.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, going after people.
Well, I'm a New Yorker, bro. You come at me, I'm coming at you times 10.
Right.
But I'm just saying, it's all fun. It's all shits and giggles because, take some time and sit down with your family and reconnect. I don't have kids. Me and Erica, we got a dog. You have children. Anyone out there listening to this that has kids, and take time for family. Take everybody's fucking cell phone and put it somewhere, and can reconnect with each other. I never had that as a kid. I was deprived of that. I was never allowed in the foster home to go in the refrigerator. When they had people over, we had to sit outside in the cold or go play in the park. We never got to sit down and have a family meal. That's why it became so important to me later on when I had the facility to do that working at the health food store in 81 and hanging with the bad brains, those dinners became so important to me, and connecting and talking philosophy and life is something that's now, with all this time on our hands, we should be trying to do that.
Yeah.